Imagine being taken out of your home and put into a place with other animals of your same species, but you have no relation to, and you don't know who it is, and the space is adequate to meet your physical demands, but socially and mentally, it constrains you and you start to lose yourself. This is what the greater apes actually have to go through every single day living in a zoo. They are put in artificial relationships with other gorillas, other apes, and in general view, it seems like they're getting along. They're getting a naturalistic environment with other animals of their species. But for them, they're so complex that a special relationship with family is so important to them that it can't just be replaced simply by just putting in other animals that they've never met before. It can cause a lot of problems and aggression between animals as aggressive as gorillas and as territorial. And that's something we can't ignore with an animal that is so closely related to humans. Because we understand ourselves. We see humans as something so complex and above other animals, but we don't understand that other animals are so closely related to us, genetically and physically, that they need the same demands that we do. Behaviorally, we hunt and eat animals, and we also eat plants. We have the same social dependence. You can't just leave a human or a ape alone for a year and expect them to be mentally okay. Mentally, for their health and for our health, we need others of our species to communicate with and be socially active. And both animals understand complex learning. Whether the degree for humans it's much higher than for the greater ape, but you also see gorillas learning hundreds of different sign language and can communicate with a human and understand what's going on. This is something that you cannot ignore, and zoos and other people have to start taking this into account when they think of that it's okay to just drop an ape in something that looks like their naturalistic environment. And then you get onto the side of genetics, and genetically, we at 96% of the DNA per pair sequence is shared with the greater ape. Not to mention the gene segments. If you look at the gene segments themselves, 98% match with humans. So genetically, what's it to us to say that 2% of a gene segment difference makes us so much more different to the point that we are so above greater apes that we don't have to put in the money to just go beyond just a naturalistic looking environment. Because zoos look at the naturalistic environment and make zoos look, the exhibits look natural so that visitors don't get alarmed that the animals are living in an environment that isn't like home. But it's not as enriching mentally to the animals because it's not like home. They don't have the same strong bonds and relationships because they're just taken out and forced into these random random enclosures with random other animals from their species that they have no relationship with. Life in zoos, they meet the minimum standard and regulations to keep humans safe and to keep the animals healthy physically, but for actual enriching and for a flourishing, growing greater ape, such as a gorilla, it would actually take millions and millions of dollars to build an enclosure that can meet those standards. Because for a gorilla, and even for us, just a home isn't enough to let someone grow and reach their full potential. If you just bring a person into a room, give them a little yard, and throw them in with three other humans, you can't expect them to do much and to grow much. You have to be able to give them that same mental enrichment that they do in the wild of just surviving, growing, learning, seeing new things. That's what they need to be able to live a full life. And the real difference personhood can make to a gorilla or any greater ape is that they can now be recognized as similar to humans, that they need to be looked at closer. They don't just get put in a cage or get put in an enclosure that just looks pretty and looks natural. Now they have to be looked at as, is it humane for them socially, like mentally, for them to be able to live there happily? And it just makes the whole thought process of keeping gorillas, orangutans, chimpanzees, all these greater apes, just keeping all of them, you look closer into it. It makes people more careful and more aware of the situation than just putting an animal in a cage that looks normal. And that's why it's important that we look at how personhood can really change the lives of millions of greater apes around the world.